Yeah. So thank you very much to our early joiners, and it's a pleasure having everyone for our very first learning lounge for this Lions year. And we are honored to have a very distinguished speaker, the #1 lion in Nigeria himself, who would be taking us through today's session. As always, would expect it to be an interactive session and would have opportunities for questions, comments at the end, but also feel free to drop any of such in the chat box, and we would monitor that as we go along. I have also dropped the link for the attendance on the chat box, so please oblige us by filling out the form so that we're able to report appropriately to learn. So without further ado, I would invite our district governor to give us the welcome remarks. So my district governor, Ma, over to you.
Thank you so much, our district's GLT, Lion Joyce, my MCC, Lion Leader here present. Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for this honor you are doing us today, the time taken to be here for this first webinar. And to all our Lion leaders and group leaders, whatever category or level you may consider yourself to be, you will agree with me that this particular topic tonight is one that every one of us needs to pay attention to, considering the fact that we are human beings and we are bound to step on one another's toes. Sure, when we listen to our speaker today, we will be able to act and react in a more matured way and better, and learn some quick ways to resolve issues. We will always have it in our clubs. We will always have it in the, but we believe that when we pay attention to it and also go by the code of ethics of Lions Club International, that will be better lions and be able to relate better with one another. And so this evening, I want to ask that every one of us pay attention and take home something that can make us a better lion at the end of it all. Thank you so much. We welcome you here. I know we have people from all over, and I'm sure that by the end of this gathering, we will all have a better way or have learned a better way to handle situations. Thank you so much, and have a pleasant evening together.
Thank you, my governor.
Thank you very much, my district governor. Yes, so I do not think our very amiable MCC needs any introduction. He is well known to many of us, and of course, you know, us in A3 are always very proud of one of our own. So it's a pleasure that we do have him to share from his wealth of experience over the years as a lion and indeed as a business executive. So without further ado, I would hand over to my MCC, sir, to take us through today's session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Lion Joyce, our district GLT. Thank you, my district governor. I want to thank and welcome all the lions that are on this program today, and I look forward to learning together and learning from each other and interacting, because as they say, iron sharpens iron. So we're going to do this together. And what we're going to be doing today is to be looking at conflicts and how to resolve conflicts. So this evening we're going to be talking about conflict and conflict resolution, because first and foremost, we will have conflict, and then we will try to find how do we resolve conflicts, because in every species of organisms, not just human beings, conflicts occur, because conflicts occur when there are opposing needs or opposing intentions or opposing aspirations. If two or more people do not agree on anything, then conflict is likely to occur, and it occurs all the time. But even though conflicts are natural and they occur all the time, if they are not managed, if they are not resolved as quickly as they occur, then they may degenerate. And when they degenerate, they may cost us the subject matter either of our existence or the subject matter of our interests. And that is why conflicts need to be resolved when they do occur. So there are some definitions of conflict. I mean, conflict is a mental or physical struggle. So mark the word struggle. It's a struggle between two persons, between entities, between groups of people. In fact, at the highest level of conflict, it could result in war, which could cost lives. But we are talking about conflicts and conflict resolution within the context of the Lions Clubs International. So when there is a mental or physical struggle, and when we talk about mental here, we talk about state of mind. For example, if you come into a club and somebody says, let us meet virtually for our board meetings and physically for our general meetings. And another person says, no, why should we do that? We should be meeting physically for both virtual and general meetings. So you've seen that there's a conflict, a mental conflict, because of the positions one has taken or the other one has taken. So a conflict is a mental or physical struggle resulting from incompatible or opposing needs. So when two people's needs are different, or when two people's needs are opposite, or when two people's drives are opposite, or when two people's wishes are opposite, or when two people's wishes or demands are opposite. Take wish, for example. Mom says, this summer holidays, let's go to London. Dad says, no, we were in London last year. This summer holidays, let's go to the US. That's already a point of conflict. And conflict is part of everyday lives. And it exists in every Lions Club. It exists even between one lion and another. And between you and I, conflict cannot always be prevented. Despite your best efforts, sometimes conflict must occur. And when conflicts occur, what do? If we sit down with one another and resolve the conflict, then we can learn more about the needs or feelings of our fellow club members. And when we do this, we benefit more because we get to know each other better. It is when we have conflicts that the opportunity to interact more and know each other better is there. So our recommendation is that at all points in time when conflicts occur, they should be resolved. Conflicts can be serious or they can be unserious. And the nature of the conflict will also determine how it will be resolved. Now, there are 4 common ways or 4 common things that cause conflict, especially in the Lions Club, but it is a general notion that conflict arises when someone's interest or someone's value is challenged. For example, let's say you join the Lions Club because you are interested in serving the hungry. You want to alleviate hunger. And then you get into the club. The interest of the club is not hunger, but sight. So that means your needs are not met. So if they are not met, what do? Should you adjust your needs, or should you walk off and go look for another club that can meet your needs? Then, so that conflict are number 1, when your interest or your value is challenged. Second one is if your needs are not met, like I just said. Then number 3 is when your power or authority is challenged. You are club president and your club member talks to you rudely. You are likely to miss the point he or she is trying to make and focus on the power that is challenging your authority or undermining your authority. Then the 4th cause of conflict is what is called misunderstanding. And in my words, what I call misunderstanding is jumping to confusion. Misunderstanding arises when you think the basis of somebody's action is one thing, and then the person's action depends on another. And you now react based on your assumption of what the other person's reason for behaving that way is. And because action and reaction are opposite, the other person now perceives you as enemy. So you begin to quarrel with each other without even knowing the cause of the quarrel. The easiest examples I like to give is that, let's say in an office setting, because all of us work in office, let's say in an office setting, I go to Lion Joyce and gossip to her that, do you know that the district governor doesn't like you and she'll say so and so and so about you? So Lion Joyce has that at the back of her mind. Then the next day in the corridor, the governor is rushing somewhere to go and sort out something and doesn't even notice that Lion Joyce is also walking along the corridor. So Lion Joyce now assumes that, so this thing they said about the DG is correct. So you begin to react negatively to the DG. And then before you know it, a conflict exists between the two of you. So that's conflict caused by misunderstanding. Before we begin to try to resolve any conflicts, we have to ask ourselves or try to understand what is the underlying cause of the conflict. Because if we do not understand the underlying cause of the conflict, then we'll be applying the wrong medicine in trying to resolve the conflict. If the cause of the conflict is because somebody's interest is not being met, and you think it is misunderstanding, then you'll be applying the wrong method using to resolve the conflict. If somebody's power or authority is challenged and the person is feeling bitter about it and you're trying to resolve the conflict and you think that, oh, it's a mere misunderstanding, then you will not be able to resolve the conflict. So, the way we proceed, we understand what is conflict. Conflict is when there is opposing mental or physical struggle arising from opposing needs or opposing desires, so on and so forth. So then what causes conflict? And we have said that there are 4 things that causes conflict. When needs are not met, or interests and values are challenged, or when authority is seemingly challenged or actually challenged, or when there is a misunderstanding, when we do not know what is in the other person's mind that is causing the conflict. So if we identify the cause of the conflict, then we can now try to manage it. Now, there are several ways of trying to manage conflict. Do you see my screen in full, Line Joyce?
Okay, no, it's not in presentation mode, sir. It's not in presentation mode. Maybe you want to choose, sir.
My technical ability is not like yours, so I don't know which one is presentation mode.
To the bottom right of your screen.
Bottom right of my screen.
Yeah, the last box there. That is looking like a stand just before the minus sign.
Let me see.
After comments, there's 1 box, 2 box, 3 box, 4th box.
But where I don't see any box, so.
Down, go down, sir. I can see your cursor. Go down to the bottom of the. You see notes. The bottom strip.
I've not reached my bottom strip. So hold on.
It looks like a small TV hanging up, sir, before the line.
All the lines are up.
No, can you see where there's plus or minus at the bottom?
I'm telling you that I don't get to bottom for this.
My MCC, sir, on the lower right side of your screen.
I can see it from here. You see where you have click to add notes.
Okay, click to add.
Okay, notes. So go on to the right.
After the click to add notes, there's comments. After comment, there are about 3 other boxes. And the 4th one, the 4th box.
This one?
Not that one.
No,
sir.
go.
Not
the
that
last
one.
No,
no. Go to the next. Go to that one.
Okay. So I pressed it. Do you now see my screen?
Fantastic. It's up now.
It's okay now, Abby?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, you have to pardon my
No, you're doing great, sir.
Okay, so let's now come back to the discussion. There are 5 approaches to managing conflict. One approach is to avoid all situations of conflict. And I'm sure we know people like that. They don't want any problem at all. They will rather swallow the injury and the injustice and say nothing. So that is one approach. So this strategy means you ignore the existence of a conflict. You pretend that there's no conflict. You behave like they have not hurt you. You don't want anybody's wahala. And you can adopt this sorry, I need to change. So you can adopt this strategy when you don't wish to engage in conflict. But anybody who exists in this world and doesn't want conflict, you know, the person can't go very far. So you can adopt this strategy when you don't wish to engage in conflict. So you just try to dodge or bypass a conflict. And this style of managing conflict is very low in assertiveness. You don't assert yourself. You don't even wish to cooperate with people. You just want to be on your own. You avoid situations and decisions or any action that leads to conflict and conflict resolution. So if this is your default attitude to conflict management, then you really need to begin to understand that there are other conflict management approaches. So you need to what is called do what comes tough to you. You need to come out of yourself to do better. I mean, avoidance of conflict is easy. It means you will never have any conflict. But you know that if you never try anything, you'll never achieve anything anyway. So consequences of avoidance of conflict is that you lose, I lose, and you lose. So now, because of avoidance, you know that feelings go unexpressed and conflict will always remain because you bottle the thing up, you don't complain, they keep doing the same thing over and over to you until one day maybe you can just explode like a bomb. So avoidance of conflict can lead to confusion over what went wrong, because if we do not discuss what the issue is, then how are we supposed to understand it? So avoidance can lead to confusion over what went wrong, since the causes of conflict are not discussed. Then the second approach is what is called dominate or compete. And I'm sure each and every one of us know people like that, who, for them, it is their way or no other way. So if you adopt the dominate or compete approach, every argument must end in your favor. Every conflict must be resolved in your favor. You try to satisfy your own desires at the expense of the other parties involved. In other words, your name may be Trump. You put down your own needs and desires over those of others. Other people's needs and desires are unimportant. So your own conflict management approach is get what you want and to hell with the rest of the people. You resolve problems by advancing your own opinion rather than that of the person or people who you are in conflict. So that's the dominating or the competing approach to conflict management. Now, in dominate or compete conflict management approach, I win, you lose, and that's it. And it relies on an aggressive style of communication with low regard for the future of the relationship. So the first one is avoidance. The second one is dominate. I want to win, and you have to lose. The third one is called accommodate approach or accommodate style. Now, in this style of conflict management, there's a lot of cooperation. So both parties give up something on their concerns in satisfying the other party so that conflict can be avoided. In other words, you give up part of what you need so that the other person will be happy. In the accommodate conflict management approach, you resolve conflict by yielding your needs or points of view to preserve the relationship or to preserve, as lawyers will say, the race, the substance of importance. So it tends to be high in cooperation, but low in assertiveness. In other words, you want to concede to the other party. It's different from avoidance, because in avoidance, you don't even voice out what the problem is. In accommodating management approach, you want to give up your own needs and make the other person happy so that the conflict can be resolved. So in this conflict management approach, you, my opponent, win, I lose. So you may perceive the danger in exploring the conflict and desire to sacrifice your own needs for the benefit of the relationship. For me, the classical case of the accommodator approach to conflict management is that story of the two women who went to King Solomon to determine who is the mother of the child. The real mother wants to lose and let the other woman win because she wants to preserve the essence of what is causing the conflict. Because what is much more important to her is preserving what is causing the conflict rather than having her way. So sometimes you come to clubs and there is conflict. And some people will say, okay, for the sake of peace, let me concede. So that's the accommodate approach to conflict management. So in it, one person loses and the other person wins. But the other person that loses, in my mind, so wins because the person is trying to preserve something that is much bigger than the conflict itself. The fourth approach to conflict management is what is called compromise. Now, in compromise, I give up something, you give up something. So compromise is usually suboptimal because you don't get everything you want, I don't get everything I want, but at least we reach an agreeable point. So in the compromising strategy, which is also known as the reconciling strategy, the aim is to reach a mutual agreement that helps ensure that both parties resolve the conflict. So the important thing is, okay, let's resolve this conflict. I'll give up something and you give up something. So it is when both parties come to a mutually agreed upon solution that perhaps only partially satisfies both of them. It is a conflict resolution strategy where you and the other party willingly forfeit some of your needs to reach an agreement. So here, the important thing is, okay, let's reach an agreement. I'll forgo some of the things I need, and you forgo some of the things you need. And in this management approach, the parties involved must give and take to find a common ground. So there's concession from both sides. That's a compromise management approach. So in the consequences of this approach is that both of us win a little and both of us lose a little. This may seem like the perfect approach, but it may not lead to satisfactory resolution of the conflict. And it is easy to walk away from this approach without having developed a full understanding of everyone's ideas. Because if you do compromise, you may not have reviewed all the issues that cause the conflict. Then the last one is the the last one, the fifth one, is a collaborating approach or the collaborative approach. So in the collaborative approach, both parties to the conflict are willing to spend time to sit down, find out the remote and immediate causes of the conflict, sit down, review the conflict itself, sit down, review alternative ways of resolving the conflict. Sit down together, agree that, okay, this is how we're going to resolve the conflict. And when finally they have resolved the conflict, they look back at what they have done and evaluate it to see whether it has achieved what they wanted to achieve. The collaborative approach is actually the best approach, but the one challenge it has is that it requires a lot of time. So collaborating conflict management style demands a high level of cooperation from all the parties involved. This style consists of seeing your concerns and those of the other parties as equal. In other words, you put your own concerns and you also put the other person's concern, and you know that just as your own concerns are important to you, the concerns of the other person is important to him or her. So you now look at all of them and then marry them together so that you can achieve a solution that gives the greatest value to all. This conflict style consists of your concern and those of the other party are equal. A collaborating style attempts to find a solution that will meet the needs of all parties. All parties explore ideas and opinions of others and attempt to find new solutions that are agreeable to all. So, like I said, it's the best approach because it's a win-win approach. You win, I win, and everybody is happy. And the approach requires innovative thinking. And you know that thinking is not easy. When you say innovative thinking, it means that each and every one of us are going to think deeper so that we can find solutions to the problem. It also requires an open mind and a willingness to spend time. Because, I mean, if you're going to be thinking and working it out, you have to sacrifice time to reach the best solution. So this collaborative approach is the most preferred approach because it pulls individuals' needs and goals towards a common solution. But time may also be an issue. So in summary about the conflict management approaches, it depends on the nature of the conflict. 2, it depends on the time available to you. And 3, it depends on your disposition. But if you have the time and the essence of managing the conflict is important enough to you, it is always better to use the collaborative approach. Then, of course, each and every one of us have to know what is our own conflict management style. And I recommend to those of us who are interested that you can go to the LAN facility in Lions portal and evaluate your own conflict management style. You will find out that each and every one of us has a tendency to one style or the other. But no style is cast in stone. And you may have a dominant style and a less dominant style. But all the styles are important in trying to resolve conflict. So I will invite you at your spare time to go to the LAN platform and go to conflict management and test your self-awareness about your own management style in mediating a conflict. That will help you, especially for Lions leaders, club presidents, zone chairpersons, region chairpersons, committee chairpersons, district governors, multiple council chairpersons, in resolving conflict, because as a leader, conflict will always come to you, and it will be your responsibility to mediate the conflict and achieve a mutually satisfying resolution of the conflict. Now, sorry, I don't know what I've done again. Joyce, you have to help me.
It's just click it will move to the next slide, I'm sure. I'm
trying to move to the next slide. I can't even move again.
At the bottom, you see when you hover towards the, I don't know if it's left or right now, under choosing, it should have the arrows to move.
Yeah, I'm trying to press that. Or did I stop share?
You've stopped sharing now. Okay, so maybe you can share again.
So let me go back to share again and see what happens. Okay. Okay, this is where I am. Okay, so let's see. Okay, so choosing the right approach, we have said that the most acceptable approach is a collaborative approach, whereby you sit down and review the conflict. Ask yourself, what are the causes of the conflict? Why the conflict? How can we discuss the needs of each other? And how can we begin to meet the needs of each other? You know, at the beginning, I said that conflicts exist, and there are all sorts of conflicts that exist in our various clubs. But for every conflict, we must sit down, ask ourselves, of the 4 causes of conflict, what is the cause of this conflict? Then of the 5 management approaches, which one is suitable for this resolution of this conflict? And then, if the conflict is complicated and the value is important to us, the best approach to use is a collaborative approach. Because the collaborative approach leads to a win-win outcome for the parties involved in the conflict. But it takes time and effort to utilize this approach effectively. And there are 7 steps for the collaborative approach. The first step is for us to remove emotion. In other words, if we want to resolve the conflict, both parties must come to the resolution process without their emotions. The emotions are emotions of probably anger, emotions of pride, emotions of feeling superior. So if you are going to resolve the conflict using the collaborative approach and you come together, the first thing you need to do is remove your emotions. Don't think that, oh, okay, so if I consider to this man, he has defeated me. Or if I say this, it means I've swallowed my pride, and so on and so forth. So the first thing is to remove emotions and know that The essence of conflict resolution is not to satisfy your emotional state. The essence of conflict resolution is to remove the conflict so that it does not prevent us from achieving our aim. In the Lions Club, our aim is to come together as a body, contribute our time, our treasure, and our talent, and use it to serve humanity. So if for any reason we have a conflict, to resolve that conflict, we have to realize that this conflict is not because of Anna, or because of Lion Joyce, or because of Lion Felicia. We need to resolve this conflict so that we can continue to mutually work together to achieve our aim, which is to serve humanity by pulling our time, treasure, and talent together. So you remove your emotions by not focusing on, oh, he talked to me rudely, or he was commanding me as if I'm his houseboy, and so on and so forth. So you have to remove your emotions and look at what are the important things. And what are the important things? What is it that A wants? In other words, you consider your differences. What is it that A wants which B does not want? You know, once upon a time, during the banking consolidation, I worked in a bank where 6 banks came together and were merged. A set of 3 came from a different socio-political environment. A set of another 3 came from another socio-political environment. And then conflict ensued. And then the 2 sides started fighting. The fight eventually led to the collapse of the bank. But I remember my immediate boss one day asking the people at the top, at the highest levels of management of the bank, to say, my people, 2 of you are on this side, 2 of you are on this side, and you're fighting a fight to the finish that wants to destroy the bank. Is there something one of you wants that the other doesn't want? What do you really want? What you want is, let there be a bank. Let all of us work in the bank so that we can earn our living. Is that not what all of us want? So why are we fighting? So when you remove your eyes from what is important, ultimately you lose what is important. So that's why when you're using the collaborative approach, you must consider differences. What is it really that A wants that B doesn't want? Is it really that important, what you want? So when you have finished that, when you start by removing your emotions, because when you remove your emotions, then you can sit down together to talk. If you have a conflict resolution and one is saying, listen, I can't sit down in the same room with Anna. So how are you not going to resolve the conflict if your emotion says Anna has hurt you so much you can't sit down on the same table with him? So that's why I say remove your emotion. Let's come together and sit down and know that, okay, we have hurt each other, but that is not what is important. So when you have done that, when you have disposed of your emotional state, you can now discuss the differences. What is it that upsets you? What is it that's upsetting me? We put it down on the table and look at it and say, okay, this one is important to you. This one is actually important to the resolution of this. This one, if you don't get it, it's not really important. So that's where you consider your differences. When you have considered your differences, that you now set mutual goals. So what do we want to do? what do we want to achieve? We want to achieve a stable Lions Club where everybody is happy and we are able to raise money and be able to render humanitarian service to our community. That is our goal. If that is our goal, then we have to go to the fourth stage, which is to brainstorm ideas. We have looked at our differences. What is it that we're quarreling about? What are the needs that are not being met? What are the aspirations that are not being met? What are the ways we have hurt each other that we want to stop, that is preventing us from getting to the goal? So, when we have considered the differences, we now set goals to say, okay, this is what we're going to do so that A is happy, B is happy, and we end up meeting our desired responsibility. When you have set the goals, the next step is to look at all possible ideas, which is called brainstorming ideas. You look at all the possible ideas that will ensure that at the end of the day, when we come to a solution, everybody is happy. Don't forget that I said from the beginning, you have to remove your emotion. If you don't remove your emotion, your capacity to do any of these other ones will not work. If you do not discipline your emotion to say, hey, don't let your emotion interfere, either emotions of anger or emotions of disgust, so on and so forth. You remove them. So you now look at what are the things we are disagreeing about that are not just emotional disagreements. Then we set goals. Then we now look at ideas, all the possible things need to solve this problem. When we have looked at the pool of all possible things we can do, then we sit down and select the best solution and say, okay, the best thing to do is this, this, that. After you have selected the best solution, the next step is to implement your solution. Once you have agreed that this is what we're going to do, then implement it. After you implement it, you give yourself some time and then you do an evaluation and say, okay, what happened? How did we resolve it? Was it really resolved? The solution we choose achieve our aim after we have implemented it? So when we have evaluated it, then we take away learning points from the process. So this is the theory behind conflict resolution. And I stop here. The next stage of this discussion is for us to now ask ourselves questions. So I'm ready to answer your queries as it relates to conflicts in our clubs, in our districts, even in our homes. And what are the consequences of these conflicts? And what approach are we using to solve them? Thank you very much, my great lions. So, Lion Joyce, over to you. That's the theoretical base of our discussion.
Thank you very much, my MCC sir, for a very detailed step-by-step approach to how we can navigate what I believe is inevitable, because I mean, it's typically said that where two or three are gathered, you know, there is bound to be misunderstanding, but indeed how we walk through and navigate those turbulent times would only determine how stronger would be, especially for us as lions. So on this note, I want to open up for questions. You can drop your questions in the chat box, and you can also raise your hand if you want to speak. Thank you very much to all those who are just joining us. I've also dropped the link to the attendance in the chat box, please do well to fill that so that we are able to report appropriately. So we'll take any questions or comments. Lion Tima, yeah.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, all.
Good evening, Osaren.
Osaenkoy, Malga.
How do you Osaren?
Osaenkoy.
Osaren Hoy.
Yes.
Okay,
thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Brilliant one, sir. Sir, I thank you for this beautiful presentation that you gave to us. I have a question that as a lion, I have experienced, and I don't think is healthy. And I'm glad this topic came up. I have weakness and I have experience that as a lion, I expected as a lion, as a humanitarian, that the way I'm a humanitarian, I shouldn't take things when I'm offended to the extreme, because I should have that understanding that others don't have. But most lions, I have found out that they keep malice. They have carcass. If you're not in that carcass, they treat you unkind. Is it healthy to have carcass within Lions Club? This is my person. Like the past, I've witnessed some series of election. I see that people have carcass and they go to the extreme. They take action that I don't expect. I just want to know, I want to ask as a senior lion and the person who has given this conflict, is it a healthy behavior that should be accommodated by Lions Club members? Or as a senior lion, will you make conscious efforts as the MCC to make sure that this is not part of us? Thank you.
Thank you, Lion Osaren Hoy. Now, you know, if conflict didn't exist, a discussion like this would be completely unnecessary. So, conflicts are bound to exist, either at small levels or at big levels. And the essence of a discussion like this is for each and every one of us to understand that conflict is not one person's problem. It's all of us problems. It's our problems. And when we now look at what is the process of managing conflict, we ask ourselves, in managing this conflict, what is my role? What can I do? Existence of caucuses, existence of cliques is one of the things that create problems in the Lions movement. But it's not just the Lions movement. Everywhere there's a gathering of human beings, there will be cliquing. Even in our families, you know, if your parents had 4 or 5 children, there will be cliquing. Either the cliquing of those that are liked by mommy, or a cliquing of those that are liked by daddy, or a cliquing of those who are female and a cliquing of those who are male. So cliquing is a fact of life. But the essence of a discussion like this is to say, what is the purpose of cliquing? Why did we come together as lions? We came together so that we can mutually work together to serve humanity. And again, if cliquing becomes pervasive, those who find it distasteful and objectionable will vote with their feet. So, where cliquing exists, we condemn it in its entirety. But condemning it is not enough because it won't solve the problem. So what will solve the problem is persuasion, like we're trying to do in this program, to say, wait a second. You know, if you read Dr. J. Bernstein's book, Dinosaur Brains, I don't know if any of us here have read it. What it says to us is that it is less mature brains that actually tend towards the negative thought processes and emotions that create problems. So what we're trying to do, and what we will continuously try to do, is to elevate people's thinking process so they understand that, listen, thinking doesn't take you anywhere. We came here to mutually work and respect each other so that we can serve humanity. So where we see cliques exist, we try to solve it. But when you are resolving clicking issues, the resolution will depend on the mindset of the people who you are trying to explain to that clicking is not of much value in the Lions movement. I mean, you see it all the time, but it is wrong. So we do not condone it. Where we see it, we condemn it. But because emotions are involved, we have to explain to people to say, come out of this. It will not help us achieve our aims. I don't know if I've answered your question. Sorry, Nkoy.
Yes, you have answered it brilliantly. But sir, one more request. Can this your lecture be posted and every club, every member, elder or no, they listen to it? Please, can I ask for that? That this lecture be repeated.
You should ask Lion Joyce.
Okay, Lion Joyce, please. Because it's a brilliant, we need it.
Thank you very much, my ancestor. Next, we have Lion Kojo. Over to you.
Lion Barrister Kojo.
Good evening,
which neck of the worldwide neck? Which neck of the worldwide web are you?
He should drop his location.
Okay, it's nice to see you, Lion Kojo.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm in the vice president's state, California.
Oh, okay, good.
Thank you very much.
Which part of California? Is it north, south?
No, south, Los Angeles.
Oh, LA, okay. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, my great Lion.
Thank you very much, sir, for the theoretical aspect of this topic. But allow me to go deeper. That's the kind of person I am. I like to go practical in situations like every time when there's a lecture or a training. Theoretically, in paper, it sounds nice, but practically, how well have we been able to resolve conflicts in the clubs, between members in the clubs, between members and the leaders? Truth be told, some of our leaders don't even know how to manage conflicts. And we must tell ourselves the truth that conflict resolution does not have to be a win-win situation. There are situations whereby somebody clearly erred. And if there are prescribed processes to be taken, let the law take its course or the process take its course. But at this point, we begin to see a situation by where some leaders will want to force their decision on club members. And that creates greater conflicts in or within the clubs. Secondly, sometimes there's a conflict. Rather than delve into that conflict, all you hear is, this wahala is too much. Why not just take not take those who are in this group of people who are angry and go charter a club? It happens all the time. Rather than resolve the conflict, the leaders will encourage a part to go charter a club. And then that is not conflict resolution. My associate club in Nigeria we faced a conflict whereby the club was trying to put in force the provisions of his bylaws. We went to the district, and the district governor was like, hey, I have begged you people, let this matter go. And the club says, oh, let us go with what is in our provisions because the offenses are grave. And in the end, what happened? The district governor, as at that time, dealt a heavy blow on the club. As we speak today, the gong and gavel of that club and some other materials are still within the confines of the PJD because the club simply refused to adhere to his pleading. Not that the person did not commit the offense, no, but just let it go. The president has 1 year. So if this is the best way to resolve conflict, then our trainings are worthless. For every training, let's see, okay, well, like if I ask now, what is the percentage of each district's conflict resolutions that get to them? I'm sure we don't have that answer. It's either they tell you go form a club, or you know what, and you just let it go, let it pass. And so some of us who are very heady when it comes to due process, we become the enemies of the club or the district. So conflict resolution to me doesn't have to be a win-win situation all the time. If the books are there, follow your books into conflict resolution and let the law or the books take its course. With this, everybody will fall in line and there will be better management of conflicts amongst the clubs. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, Lion Kojo. So my comments are as follows. Number one, I am a believer in what I call continuous and never-ending improvement. And what does that mean? It means that yes, we have challenges, yes, we have mindsets, yes, we have dispositions, but we will always to do things better and better. Number two, I also agree with you that some of us leaders may tend to one conflict resolution mode or the other. So, if the DG says, I'll ask you to let this matter rest, you know that DG's own idea of conflict resolution is avoidance of conflict. I don't want conflict to please, so let this matter rest. But avoidance is not always the best approach. Then, of course, number three is that conflict resolution is different from disciplinary process. So, if a conflict exists, it means that two people have different opinions about how something should be done. But if people do things that are outrightly wrong, then they should face a disciplinary process. And that's not conflict resolution, that is discipline. And it is a role and duty of leaders to ensure that rules are clear. And enforcement of rules are also clear. And when people breach the rules, that they are also dealt with to face the consequences of their actions, but you treat them in a nice and friendly manner so that they know that, listen, I'm not your enemy, but you're just facing the consequences of your action. You know, so for conflict resolutions, where conflicts exist, we want to resolve it so that we remove it from preventing us from achieving our desired goals. But when people breach the rules, they should face the consequences of those breaches. That would be my response, Lion Kojo.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate this.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, my MCC. Lion Abioye. You can ask your question.
Thank you very much. My MCC, fellow Lions, wonderful evening. I commend the facilitator who has done justice. Well, mine is not a question, rather an addendum. I believe conflict resolution has to do also with our emotions, who we are. And that's why I suggest emotional intelligence comes into play. Each member needs to develop their emotional intelligence. How do they deal when conflict arises? I've seen leaders or people that react to you in tones and languages. Then how do we share love? How do we work together as a team, as a club, as a group? So if we can develop our emotional intelligence, we are political animals with different interests, but we need to work on our emotional intelligence. By working on that, we can let things go where it needs to go. Just like what Dr. Kojo just said, you keep way at times just for peace to reign, so you can revisit and put things straight. That is my suggestion. And I also believe on the second thought that at times, some people are just endowed. They believe their way has to be other people's way. And no matter how you resolve, their school of thought remains their school of thought. But where their school of thought is not legitimate, I think that can be referred to the disciplinary committee to let them know things are not done that way, it doesn't work that way. Because we have adamant people who believe only in themselves. This is my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Labia. Well, when you know, I said those of us who are interested can go to the LEARN platform and assess their conflict resolution attitude. So each and every one of us has a tendency to tend to one or the other of those conflict resolution methods. So, but whichever one yours is, you must also realize that for you to act effectively in an organization, you must realize that other methods exist and adjust yourself. Life itself is a learning process, so we should continuously improve our attitudes, our behavior, and what we do. You know, so again, I said at the beginning that what it means is you do that which comes difficult for you. If you know that your tendency is to dominate, as you learn that there are other methods or other approaches, you begin to learn those ones that are not natural to you, so that where they are needed, you can apply them. But we must continue to learn, and that's why we are leaders in the Lions Clubs International. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and lastly, Frank. Please, if you've not filled out your attendance, kindly oblige in the chat box. Thank you. Over to you, Frank, for your question.
Frank, you're muted. You're muted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. I want to thank you so much, my MCC, for delivering this wonderful and insightful lecture. I wish this would really be watered down to the entire clubs, especially the leadership of the clubs, so that they can really get practical and both theoretical knowledge of conflict resolution and its management, so to say. What I want to say from two perspectives. I will deal with it on rather the theoretical and academic part, and or rather what we would want to call a less practical part, and then the other one has to do with the practical part. I will start with the practical part. If we look at the challenges that we've been having with a lot of the clubs let's look at our district and not go too far, we will find out that a lot of the clubs that are folding up and are being cancelled are being cancelled because of the fact that they can't manage some of the conflicts that have ensued within the clubs. And because they can't manage it, everybody tends to fold their sleeves and walk away, pack their tools, and everybody goes. And at the end, the district suffers because of some certain ineptitudes that have erupted from the conflict so far. Now that's one part. I would also like to suggest that the DG and even the MCC can actually look at setting up a body that can take their time to look at the conflicts within the clubs and see how they can resolve them so that a lot of clubs can actually get sustained hereafter. And that's one. And then on the rather theoretical part, I learned this sometimes in one of the trainings that we attended. We've come to understand that there are temperaments, 4 basic temperaments. You can have people have mixed temperaments, either being a choleric and sanguine, so to say. But what I want to say is this: if you are able to determine your followers' temperament, you're able to determine your leaders' temperament, you know their attitude and their behavior, you know the way they respond to some certain things that you perhaps may have said, or certain things that have ensued in time past. If you know their temperament, you'll be able to deal with them. If you know how a choleric behave, you know how a sanguine or a phlegmatic or a melancholic person, a prominent choleric person behaves, if you know how any of these persons behave, you will know exactly how to deal with this temperament and these behaviors. And it will help us a great deal to avoid some of the deteriorating states that we eventually find ourselves when conflict can no longer be resolved. That's one of the things I just want to throw into the discussions that you have given. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Frank. I will actually let you know that, I mean, we have just been discussing theory, so it looks easy. But I can tell you that the real conflicts that exist in our clubs, in our districts, are much heavier than you can imagine. And that's why I say that I'm interested in what I call continuous and never-ending improvement. Because some of the people who are involved in these conflicts, their mindsets are so set and so rigid that they don't even want to consider that there is another alternative to life. So it is programs like this that calls the attention of each and every one of us to know that we have a role to play, that when conflicts come, let us live up to the Lions Code of Ethics. Let us resolve the matter against ourselves. Don't expect that from yourself, you will go and control the brain and behavior of another person. No. Each and every one of us need to realize that we're part of the problem. So when conflicts come, let each and every one of us, I think there are about 72 of us on this program, let each and every one of us ask ourselves that, what is my role in this conflict? How have I been a part of this conflict? What can I do to ensure that this conflict is resolved? Let us not put the blame on the other person. Let us examine ourselves first to say, so this problem exists. How am I part of the cause of the problem? You understand what I'm saying? So, and as leaders, it's much more important to us to understand that our role in conflict resolution is higher than that of people who are not leaders. And that's why before you become district governor, you would have gone through all that training that teaches you about personality types and whether you are sanguine or whatever. You know, the idea is for you to understand human behavior and what causes human beings to behave the way they are, so that when problems come, you will draw from your pool of skills and knowledge and techniques to try to resolve it. But again, if you are trying to resolve a conflict and the people that are involved in the conflict don't even want to shift ground, so what will you do? I'm sure my immediate past DG is here. Maybe he can explain to you one of the jobs he gave me to go and resolve conflicts in one club. and the wahala that we went through, you know. And at the time we were discussing the conflict, it was very easy for us. We wanted to use the formula that Lion Kojo talks about. I said, well, if they can't agree, let them go separate, go and form different clubs. And then I asked them, I said, okay, so because they can't agree as members of this club, they go and form different clubs. So when we go for national multiple district convention at Ibadan, won't they meet each other there as Lions? So when they meet each other, they will, this one will look that way, that one will look that way. So it will become like that case of one Catholic who was quarreling with his neighbor, and unfortunately they were sitting together in church. So when the Reverend Father says, shake your neighbor, he just looked, I said, ah. And then he says, God forbid. You know, so that's it. Each and every one of us have to realize that we need to live Alliance Code of Ethics. So that would be my response. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Joyce,
thank you very much, sir. Okay, I see one more hand. This is going to be our last question. Lion Galvin, please, over to you. And if you can make it brief, that would be great.
Thank you very much, my facilitator and my MCC for the wonderful lecture this evening. My question is, during the time of discussing conflict resolution, is it not important that the both parties should be involved, at least to be a kind of fair hearing and know exactly what really transpired? Because I've seen some certain situation where this conflict are basically resolved by emotion. You know, one side being on one side and concluding with the other side to assume, okay, let us not escalate it. But by keeping those type of situation aside, really did not resolve that conflict. So what do you think will be the benefit for both sides present if they were to be called upon to come and hear them together? Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Lion Galvin. You know, in the theoretical discussion, we said, if you want to resolve conflict using the collaborative approach, you have to, first of all, discipline your emotions. Find out what the emotions are, put them aside, and then begin to look at what is the real cause of this conflict. And what are the needs of each party. And then you now review the needs of each party, have serious discussions as to what do each one want, and you review our differences, knowing that each one's interest is as important as the other person's interest. So if we don't do that, if we resolve the conflict based on emotions, it's going to reoccur. But one thing I also want to tell all of us here on this platform is that we are all human and we are bound to make mistakes. Now, when mistakes are made or errors are made or you see things that are wrong, please, leaders are also human. So when they make mistakes, don't condemn them. Find a nice and friendly manner of calling their attention to what has been done and say, okay, but I would have thought that this could have been done this way or that way. If you tell a leader nicely that, okay, this is your decision or you get as it be, I would have suggested it's done this way or that way, the person will probably think about it. If you come from a condemnatory point of view, we go back to causes of conflict, and one of the causes of conflict is when authority is challenged. So once more, I say, you and I, each one of us have a role to play in managing conflict. Will conflicts exist? Yes, they will always be there. But we need to understand them and manage them in such a way that we learn from them and then we relate better with each other so that our aim of coming together as lions, which is come together, pull our treasure, time and talent to serve humanity, is met. Thank you so very much. So, Lion Joyce, I don't know if there are any other things.
Thank you, sir.
There are no more questions, sir. I think from all the questions and the responses, we've been fully, brought up to speed on actions we can take to resolve conflicts. And again, there's no way we can overemphasize the importance of being accommodating. Yeah, that's very, very key. In all this, is one thing to learn all the conflict resolution mechanisms, but if we're not very accommodating and tolerant, then sometimes we're not able to achieve all that we've set out to achieve as Lions. So thank you very much again, my MCC, and to all those who have participated actively. I would want to invite our first Vice District Governor to give us a vote of thanks. And a gentle reminder, please, if you haven't filled out the form, please do so. I know we only have about 60 or so responses, and we're more than that on this platform. My first Vice District Governor, over to you.
Where is the form,
We'll
please?
share the presentation on the various platforms and a link to the recording as well, so people can take advantage of that. Yeah. My first Vice District Governor. I saw her earlier. Okay. Yeah.
The form is in the chat box.
Okay. Oh, someone is asking for the form.
Yeah, somebody asked where is the form.
Okay, it's in the chat box. Let me just quickly repost it now again. And if you're having any challenges, please just let me know, and we can take that on. All right. So
I think the form they're talking about is the other form that the MCC was talking about that we can get from the Learning Hub. I think that's what they are referring, not the registration hub, not the registration form.
Sorry, I'm not clear, Lanife. Which form? My MCC said, you talk about a form that we could.
He said that there is a survey that we can work to know the kind of
you go to Land Platform. You go to Land Platform and take the conflict resolution course yourself. You will see there's part of it as you will do the self-assessment to know your gravitation towards conflict resolution.
Yeah, so you can find that on the Lions Learning Center. So once you log on the Lions platform, you just go to the Lions Learning Center, and then you can find the form and the conflict resolution course as well. So you're able to take that. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Pardon?
The registration form.
The registration form is in the chat box. Attendance is on the chat box.
Attendance form
is in the chat box. I've just reported it again now.
Thank you.
First Vice Ma, over to you.
Good evening, my DG, my MCC, my GLT, great lions in the house, and online leaders. Good evening, sir, and Math. Very insightful lesson as always. I wasn't expecting anything less. Conflict resolution is something that is, I don't think there's ever any end to conflicts, and I don't know if there's any perfect solution to conflicts either. But we keep going. I would like to say thank you very much, sir, for this insightful training. And for those of us that are here and even the few that have left, thank you so much for making out time to be here. Our district GLT, thank you very much again for organizing and carefully selecting a facilitator. We always look forward to these courses, this launch. And time is already fast spent, so I will just say thank you to everyone. Have a good evening, and let's try to put a little bit of what we've learned today into practice. So thank you very much. Have a good night and stay blessed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, First Vice. And thank you all my great lions for your time.
I thought we are snapping today. Are we not snapping?
Picture, thank you. Thank you. I forgot about taking a picture. Please turn on your cameras. Turn on your cameras. Lantosin, happy birthday again.
Let me rub powder. Let me do small makeup, please.
Gojo, you must show yourself.
Lion Kojo.
Let me rub powder and put small. Can I use perfume?
Yes,
no.
Yes, because you know the perfume will
It
show.
is allowed.
You can use pancake.
Raw pancake. Me, I'm in another room. I can't open camera.
Wait till phone has snap. We are ready to go.
You may not be able to get my picture. I'm in the car. I'm in traffic.
My PDG, sir. Thank you for always obliging and joining us.
We use lion head for him.
Is my PDG here?
Yes, sir. PDG Oshinuga.
My PDG, I salute you.
Yes, sir. Always at your service, sir.
I'm going to find a place in my room.
Thank you so much, sir.
Always at your service. I enjoyed every bit of it.
And I'm going to hang on a stick now of the Lions Club.
I've learned new things.
I did you now
today. Thank you. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you, DG. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, my leaders.
I have to stop somewhere.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, Lion Joyce.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
much,
much,
everyone.
Thank you.
God bless everyone.
Have a nice
Thank
evening.
you.
Ready for this side show.
Lion Joyce, thank you.
Bye,
MC, thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
My MC, my jail.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you very much, my MC.
My DG. Good night, man.
Good night, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Good night, everyone.
Joyce, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.